Hey, it's Mike. I wanted to look back on the year and say thank you for all the downloads of the podcast. It's been amazing. We've grown month over month. And, as I reflect on the year, I feel that I'm very fortunate to have this podcast and I have all of you listening, which is awesome. And what I wanted to do was to put together and, re-release the best of what I think are the best episodes of the year. There's many more, but these are some that I wanted to release during the holiday period for your convenience. And I wanted to wish you and your families a great holiday season and a healthy and prosperous new year as we go onward on our journey. So enjoy. Hey guys, it's Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm, also founder brewer Bear Brewing Company. How you guys doing? Today we are going to the Boston area and actually Vermont too. There's two breweries there. It's Harpoon Brewery, making great stuff in the Northeast. Actually, they distribute from Maine down to Florida, so they're all over the place, but they focus in on the New England area. And they have Harpoon IPA, which I interviewed Todd Mott. He's a Tributary now, his own brewery, but he created Harpoon IPA, and he was the brewmaster there. And I talked to Al Marzi, who's the Chief Brewing Officer. I never heard of a Chief Brewing Officer, a CBO, right? You hear a CEO, CFO, but he's the Chief Brewing Officer, which is awesome. So he's in charge of the whole thing. But great conversation, but let's get to it. And we are here with Al Marzi, and he's the Chief Brewing Officer, the CBO of Harpoon Brewery in Massachusetts. They also have a location in Vermont. How you doing, Al?
I'm doing great, Michael. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. It's a little wet out today, but it's okay. We're talking about beer, so everything is good. Everything is good. But, I'm glad we got connected, and I appreciate you coming on. So I guess what I start out with everybody is just kind of maybe give me your story. Where'd you come from? How'd you end up at Harpoon, where you guys are going? If you could take it from there.
Sure. Well, let's see. I started at Harpoon, it was actually 28 years ago this month.
Wow.
And I had, time flies. Kind of hard.
It does. Yeah.
When I started, there were 8 of us. I graduated from BU with a degree in communications, so I'm using my degree right now, which is impressive.
Which is good.
And I was playing in a band and painting houses at the time, and I had a buddy that worked at Harpoon, and I'd come down and hung out with him a bit. And so I thought, hey, I'll apply for a job. So I met the owner that was here at the time, Rich, and gave him my resume and tried to get a job in the marketing department. And he said no. And
wow.
Then he called me back the next day and said, still no, but I need a delivery guy. So if you want to drive the truck, you're hired. And I said, sure, I'll do that if I can be the assistant brewer too. And he said, yeah, you're the assistant brewer. Get in the truck.
Cool.
I started delivering beer for about 8 to 10 months, and fun fact, or at least fun for me, the person who trained me at the time was Warren Dibble, who is our CFO now. So he started in the truck, became the CFO. I started in the truck and became the CBO.
Wow.
And yeah, a long time ago. So it's a pretty small facility at the time. Like I said, there were 8 of us. And I just started doing a little of everything when I came in. In fact, I think you spoke with Todd Mott recently.
I did.
Todd Mott was the head brewer. Yeah, when I started as the assistant brewer.
Oh, okay.
So I learned under Todd, which was great. Great guy, great brewer. Learned a lot. So I did that, and then I just kind of picked up doing different things, whether it was filtration, lab work, packaging, and then as the company grew. I was given the opportunity to grow with it, which was fantastic. And while I had some practical experience, they decided to invest in me and sent me out to Siebel Institute of Brewing so I could get some more of the scientific background.
Right.
Then came back, and as the company grew, we had a start with a 20-barrel system, went to a 60-barrel system, and 120 barrel system, and now we've got 200 full-time employees and 2 facilities, and just kind of keep taking what's new and passed my way, and just really enjoying working with the people that I'm with every day.
That's great. No, beer is so great. And then, you were in the beginning. I think there were 3 partners that had founded it. It was back in 1986,
Correct.
I think, that they...
George, Rich, and Dan, the original 3, and now Dan is the one who is left, and he is the reason that we became an employee-owned company. And
then George and Rich moved on, I guess?
Yeah, George moved on pretty early on. They realized they couldn't have 3 founders, and George went on to lead an incredibly successful life. I believe he's retired. Wonderful guy down in Florida. And then Rich was with Harpoon up until 5 years ago when Rich had been here, I think, for 28 years at that point, and decided he wanted to do other things. And he, had talked about selling the company, and Dan really wanted to keep the company private. And so the decision was made to become an employee-owned company. And so then Rich sunset out of here, and we took on a loan from a bank and started giving stock to the employees, and that's where we are today.
Right. I saw on the website, too, it's employee-owned. A big portion of it is. So that's great.
48% now. We'll eventually be 100%.
Same like New Belgium, like it's kind of the employees there are fantastic. The culture there is awesome. I haven't been.
Yeah, I mean, we always thought we had a pretty nice culture here. People were always involved.
Right.
But when you actually own it, you become even that much more involved in the success of your department. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It makes a lot of sense, employee owned. I mean, it's just the caliber of the execution of people that work there is just like, wow, man, I own this, man. I better give 110%. It's not just like a job.
Absolutely.
You come in, and I think it's a great idea. And you've seen it from company to company.
You take away the us and them. There is no them. It's you. It's we. It's us.
Like
we're on the same side of it.
It's like we. So
it really helped.
That's absolutely great. Fantastic. Yeah, and so now you're there. Now, you're involved? Do you have any new beers that you get involved with? I guess I think one of them that came out, the Rec League. I'm looking on your website.
Yeah, Rec League came out this year. It was a new year-round product, and it's being received phenomenally well. It's sort of listed under the better for you beers. The most important thing is it tastes phenomenal. It's a hazy pale ale, but it's got wonderful flavor, juicy flavor.
Wow.
But it's got buckwheat kasha in it. It's got some chia seeds in it. It's got Mediterranean sea salt, so electrolytes. It's about 3.8% ABV, so it's a very easy drinking.
It's a lower ABV,
yeah, and it really resonates with, Harpoon's, tagline is love beer, love life. We're very involved in all kinds of activities, whether they're charitable or athletic, and so we have a 5-mile road race. And after the 5-mile road race, people want to drink beer, and here's a great crushable beer that helps you rehydrate, and it's delicious. And so we've gotten press from Runner's World and a number of other publications that have latched onto it. And again, I think the main thing is it tastes great, but it's also got these other things going for it, which people are looking for these days. So.
It looks delicious.
We're very pleased with it.
Yeah, I see it.
I
see it on the web. I got to get some. And I want to do that 5-mile rate. When is that anyway?
We just had it in May. That is one of the charitable things that we do. We've been doing it for a number of years, and so there are 5,000 people that run in it. And it starts at the brewery, goes around Castle Island, comes back, and it's a fundraiser for ALS. And we have raised over $2 million for ALS research.
That's fantastic.
Which is pretty impressive. Yeah, we've been very, very proud of that.
Wow.
It's a fun day. Yeah.
We're doing, actually this Saturday, we're doing ALZ, Alzheimer, in Rye, New Hampshire. They're doing a bike race. And we're going to be the beer. They came in. It's like, do you want to be the beer? So we created an ALZ ale, which will be served there, and they'll give me their coupon, and I'll give them a pint of ALZ ale, and we like doing stuff like that too. But it's great and it brings people together. We were talking before the call, and beer is is just fantastic. Did you go out to the Craft Brewers Conference or?
I didn't go this year.
Okay.
Actually, it was one of the few years I've missed. We sent some other people out. I had some other things going on, but yeah, it's just gotten larger and larger. You were out there?
Oh yeah, I went out there, and as we were talking about beer, and I'm like, there's 14,500 people that are happy, right? Like, where would you find that in any one place, right? And you know what brings them all together? It's beer. You know,
well, I guess the one place I would think of is one of our events. We had over 10. Well, if you count the road race, we had 15,000 people at Harpoon one weekend in May for our summer quote unquote beer fest. And I would say that most of them were very happy.
And there you go. See, there's another example, but that's fantastic. All that good stuff, yeah. But I like this beer. It's because I'm doing the New York City Marathon too, so I should get some of this and drink it instead of Gatorade.
Wow. Good for you.
That's another charity. I'm doing that for American Cancer Society. They got me into the marathon, so I have to raise. Well, I was supposed to raise 3,200. I multiplied it by 10, so we're trying to raise 32,000. So I got to start hitting up companies. Why not? You know, why
Good
not?
Good luck with that.
Why not? Why not?
That's a great cause.
But and this beer seems to. Is it? Where is it? Where do you sell this Rec League? Is it in New Hampshire yet, or no? Or is it just at your brewery?
Well, yep. It should be in New Hampshire. It should be in every area that we distribute. You know, we're basically as far north as Maine, far south as Florida. I think we're in 24 states, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Far west
yeah.
is,
like where do you
Texas
distribute?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's 70% of what we sell is New England.
Okay.
You know, in Vermont and in Massachusetts is probably 40-something% of that. So we're really New England, but we are in some other states up and down the eastern seaboard, and then, like I said, Texas and Minnesota. But most of what we sell is New England.
Right, so you're kind of a regional, kind of brewery. You're focused on New England, and Harpoon is huge up here, so they're all over the place.
That's what that's why we picked up the defunct Catamount Brewery back in 2000, so that we had a brewery in Boston, we had a brewery in Vermont, and that really, kind of solidifies your New England footprint. And that's what we've always kind of represented. And
that's interesting. So most of the beer, is it made in the Boston facility, or is it kind of split, or how does that work out?
We do about a third of it in Vermont.
Okay.
And then it's divvied up. We have a can line in Boston, so all the cans come out of Boston, and most of the bottles come out of Vermont, and most of the draft comes out of Boston. But we do all of the same beers in both facilities.
You do.
So we brew a little of it in each place.
Do you do a little bit more experimenting up in Vermont, or?
No, actually, we do more experimenting in Boston because we put in a 10-barrel pilot system probably 10 years ago. So we're constantly working on that. We have a much smaller pilot system in Vermont that they use a lot, but we generate much more beer on the experimental side down in Boston.
Well, 10-barrel, it's bigger than. Well, I have a 7-barrel, so that's your experiment. What's your?
I guess it's all relative.
No, I remember Smutty Nose was down the street, and they had a massive fermenters, and then they had like this one little fermenter there that was kind of like, oh, what's that for? Oh, that's like the wastewater. And that's like, that was the size of my fermenter. I'm like, that's great. So, I mean, we have a small brewery here, and actually I'm trying to sell this location here because I want to try to go to that next level. I don't know, maybe contract brew, or I kind of have the brand. I just want to move on to the next level. But what is your bigger, what is your system then? What is it? I mean, how big is it? Your normal system?
Our 120-barrel system in
Boston? It's a 120-barrel. Okay, yeah. That's huge.
The 120-barrel Hubman system. In Vermont, we have a 50-barrel system.
Okay.
And then we have the 10-barrel pilot.
And then what kind of fermenters do you have? Like, what are the size of your fermenters?
All kinds of different sizes. In Boston, we've got mainly 120s inside, and then 500 or 480s, depends on how you want to look at it. We have outside, and then we have a couple of 1,200-barrel bright beer tanks outside. And then inside we have 120s and 240s for bright tanks.
Man.
In Vermont, because it's a 50-barrel brew house, we've got some 150s. Well, we got a 50, we got a couple of little 50s, and then some 150s, 200s, and 250s in Vermont.
Wow, that's huge.
So
now
the ones all different sizes.
The ones that are outside, what are they? Temperature controlled? I guess they're jacketed, or how does that work?
The main thing is having insulation. I want to say there's 6 inches of insulation around them.
Yeah.
And we've got 9. We have 9 of those 500-barrel outside fermenters in Boston, and in Vermont they're all outside. In fact, that was the first time I'd seen them when we purchased that back in 2000. That gave me the idea for how we would design things down in Boston.
Man, it gets cold up there, man. It should be a lot of insulation.
It does. Well, you got to have insulation. You got to keep an eye on things. I won't lie and say we haven't frozen something in the winter when someone wasn't paying close enough attention. But at least you got alcohol in it, so you've got ABV. You can get down 29 degrees without worrying about it.
This is true.
So as long as it doesn't sit too long, you're okay.
But that's what shocked me. Well, I went to Ireland. We use Irish barley in our beer. That's the base. That's kind of our thing. But I went to Ireland because there's like a West Cork distillery. That's where I kind of got the whole idea from. But they make whiskey, and they had a bunch of fermenters outside. I'm like, what are these things doing outside? And it's like the temperature in Ireland doesn't go below 50, so we can have them outside. I'm like, you're right. You know what? You're right. You have these massive, but I'm like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But then I'm like, you know what? You're right. So why enclose them? Just leave them out there. But now, do you use any local ingredients in your beer, or do you have some type of certain beers where you add some things into?
We do. For us, it's always about quality.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we can get quality local ingredients, we're happy to use it. I know we're going to be doing a wet hop beer with 4-Star Farm from Massachusetts. We'll be doing that this fall, and we've been making a Maine beer, a Maine blueberry beer, and we're using some malt from Maine, some Mapleton Pale Malt. So whenever we can, we're happy to. As we were talking about different sizes of systems, you can't always get the volume that you need from a local ingredient. So again, as long as the quality's there, and thankfully there have been some very nice new hop farms and malt houses put in the area, and we've used a bit from each of them. But for the volume of what we need, most of it's still local. It's it's North American, or it's hops from Yakima Valley. But not necessarily right from Massachusetts. But we will be doing the wet hop from Massachusetts.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I guess have there been any challenges that you've seen, like in terms of the whole craft beer dynamic industry, in terms of like your operations and,
Well, I'd say, for the 28 years that I've been here, I think we've always had challenges. And it's the same pressures and same challenges. Can you make a quality product consistently? Can you be relevant? Can you make beer efficiently? And I would say that's always been there. Being able to get the right equipment so that you can make it, being able to hire the right people, so that you've got people that have ability and are good people making your product. And then there's reaching the consumer. And so I think that's probably been amplified, all of those issues. Or maybe on our side, we've got some really good equipment at this point, so that's less of an issue. And right now we've got some really incredible people. As I said, being an ESOP, we attract really the cream of the crop, so that's great. But staying relevant in this day and age with what have we got, 7,500 breweries in the country, going on 8,000, that's always a challenge. I'm sure you see it. There are constantly new places popping up. So doing what we can and managing our relationships with our distributors, making sure that when people come to the facilities, they have a fabulous time. If they come to our events, they really develop a connection and affinity for Harpoon and UFO and Clown Shoes. And, we have multiple products now, multiple brands. So you have to be on your A game. You can't take anything for granted. But it's always been that way for us. It's always been a challenge. When it was just us going against imports and Sam Adams, we had to be at the top of our game. Now that there are 7,000 breweries, we have to stay at the top of our game and make sure we're giving people products they want to drink, that we enjoy, and that meets a need. So, never a dull moment.
No. And you mentioned a couple of brands there, the UFO. Maybe you can describe it to people, because we're trying to broadcast this podcast out to all beer drinkers. It doesn't matter if they're craft beer or not, but we're trying to convert people to craft beer. But the UFO beer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
UFO we've had since late 90s, and it's interesting. UFO stands for Unfiltered Offering. It doesn't necessarily mean all spaceshipy. It's Unfiltered Offering. And when we first started back in the late 90s, we made a Hefeweizen, and it was a cloudy beer. People didn't know what the heck it was. You had Widmer on the West Coast making a Hefe, but no one was making one on the East Coast. We had to explain to people that, no, it's okay. Just because it's cloudy, it's not a problem. Which today, in this day and age, everybody wants cloudy.
It's like, why isn't it cloudy? Right, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't understand why, and we had to explain what wheat was and what Hefe meant and what Weiss meant, and a lot of tastings. And then that line has just really expanded. It tends to be it's a very easy drinking, accessible, flavorful experience for people. We really concentrate on flavors, many of them being fruit flavors. We're making as I said, a Maine blueberry currently. Our summer seasonal is a Georgia peach. We've got UFO White, which is a white ale that's been around for a long time, and it's just a great, refreshing. You've got coriander and orange peel, and so that's the UFO line that we've had. And then Clown Shoes came under. So we keep talking about the Harpoon Brewery, which is what I'm sitting in right now, but it's the Mass Bay Brewing Company that we've always been the Mass Bay Brewing Company, and we own the brands of UFO, Harpoon, Clown Shoes, Arctic Summer, which is a seltzer we're making with Polar, and as well as City Roots Cider, which is just coming out next week. We have 5 brands now, which is pretty wild.
So now you're doing ciders too.
Yeah. We've been making cider under the Harpoon brand for quite a while.
Okay.
And now it'll be under the City Roots brand.
Okay.
It's great. It's a nice. The one that we make the most is it's a very drinkable dry cider. It's not sweet, so it's very fresh apples that are pressed right here in Massachusetts from a great farmer friend of ours, and so that's coming out. And the Clown Shoes has been phenomenal. I don't know how much you know about Clown Shoes.
Oh yeah, I know about Clown. It's awesome beer. Everything I've consumed from Clown Shoes is
beer,
fantastic.
Awesome yeah, it's been great working with them and Dan Lipke and Greg, and the barrel aging programs that they've had has been a lot of fun for us to be involved in now.
Oh wow, that's great. Wow. But I appreciate you being on. What would you say as you wrap it up to individuals who haven't really tried any craft beer, or maybe they're sticking to their mass-produced beer? We're trying to convert people, but what would you say to them, in order to convince them to try craft beer at least, or go to your local brewery, or try some Harpoon?
Oh yeah, I think that going to a local craft brewery is the first step. If you go into a package store and you go, I don't know anything about this beer, it frightens me, then I may not want to make that purchase and invest that amount of money. Go to a local brewery, and you're going to be able to sample a lot of small volumes of beer, and it won't cost you an arm and a leg, and you can see what you like and not be particularly frightened by it. If it's cloudy, the people there, I'm sure, will explain to you why there are different flavors and different textures and different colors in the beers. I mean, we do that. We've got the facility in Boston, and we've got in Vermont, in Windsor, Vermont, just south of White River Junction, we've got the Riverbend Taps, and the people that we have working in the beer halls are happy to walk you through the beers that we make, and they run the gamut. I mean, as you know, we don't just make chocolate or vanilla. There's all these flavors in between, so that just because you like mass-produced, a lighter lager, doesn't mean that you won't find something that one of your local breweries makes that you would find it just as enjoyable, if not more so.
You might find your new favorite beer. You never know. Right?
Absolutely.
Until you try it. There's just so many different...
You try. You got to get out there and try it.
You got to get out there and try. I do like every Wednesday, too. I do 3 podcasts a week, but Wednesday we do beer style. So I just go down the Great American Beer Festival list, and I just pick a different style each week and talk about it, just to try to educate people. Fun. Yeah, it's great, and stuff.
Absolutely.
Like
tough job having to drink a new style of beer every Wednesday.
I should try to do. I should include that, but I don't do that. But I talk about beer, the beers that are examples of the style. Like I didn't realize that the Boston Lager was it's a Vienna lager. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
So you learn something new every day. But No, Al, I appreciate you taking the time out and chatting with us. You're making great beer. Harpoon's great. Solid footprint in New England. Good stuff. And
happy to talk with you. Thanks for getting in touch with me.
Yeah, if they want to get in touch with Harpoon, I guess, is there a website or?
Yep, harpoon.com will get you our website. You can find our beer finder right on there. So if you want to find out where our beer is, that works really, really well. And I would invite anyone and everyone down to either of our facilities, Boston, right downtown Boston, or in Windsor, Vermont, and we'd be more than happy to receive you and have you sample some of our beer.
Awesome. I need to get down there. I haven't been. I got to go.
You're welcome anytime.
I will let you know. All right, Al. Hey, I appreciate you being on again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Michael. Thanks a lot.
Hey, that was Al Marzi, the CBO, Chief Brewing Officer. That's awesome. That's an awesome title. And of Harpoon, and they're making really good stuff. This new Rec League, I'm looking at pictures. I haven't had it yet, but I got to try it. It looks delicious. And actually, it's healthy for you. There's some healthy ingredients. He's telling me, electrolytes, and like if you go running, you drink one of these beers, you're okay. So I got to do the marathon. Maybe I should bring some of these with me. Throw them in the backpack or have one of those camel packs, pour it in, right? Drink it throughout the race. Should be good. I don't know. I think that would be bad, but no, it's a lower ABV, so maybe it might be okay. I don't know. Anyway, Harpoon's making great stuff. They also have clown shoes, which they bought, and every clown shoes that I've had is delicious. And not sure if it's where you are, but I know it's in New England. And making cider too, which is good stuff. They have 2 great locations in Boston and also in Vermont, Windsor, Vermont. So go check them out if you're in the area. And that's what I have for you today. If you like what we are doing, if you like our podcast, please go on to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps us tremendously. It helps us more than you know, because it gets us up in the rankings, and it just blasts it out to more people. Apple sees this. There's a lot of brew podcasts that haven't done anything since 2015. I don't know what they're doing, but they're still ranking. I don't know what's happening. I do 3 a week. So get me up there. Get me in there. All right. That's what I have for you today. I wish you a great rest of the day. We'll talk to you on Wednesday when we do beer styles. Take care.